We are obsessed with job titles. We chase the head of, the director, the VP. We think these mean safety. We think they mean wealth. But after walking away from a 200 grand a year plus director role, I realised something dangerous. Your job title might actually be keeping you poor. There is a book by Ryan Holiday called Ego is the Enemy. It's absolutely fantastic. And most people read it as a guide to being humble. And of course, I took a lot of that from it. But I've read it as a guide to money. Because when you look closely, ego is the reason we spend money we don't have to impress people on LinkedIn who don't even care anyway. To keep a job title is actually a trap. Aspiration. There is nothing wrong with that. And if you want to be a director or a CEO, you can. And you go for it. And I'm proud of what I achieved. But buying the title before you earn it. I remember running around the city of London in a cheap suit, hanky out my jacket pocket, spending like a millionaire on borrowed money. Ego says, tell everyone you're going to be great. Holiday writes in a book about aspiration in the corporate world. This is the LinkedIn headline trap. When we are starting out, ego makes us want the status of the job before we have the wealth of the job. I see people negotiating for senior titles instead of negotiating for equity or flexibility. Why? Because you can put senior on LinkedIn. You can't put freedom on LinkedIn. Well, you could, but generally we don't. And here is the money cost. When you change the title, you start dressing the part. You lease the car that a manager should drive. You buy the watch a director should wear. You are spending future money to validate a current label. This is ego. It's trying to tell you to be somebody rather than the thing you're doing. And it drains your ability to build real assets because your cash flow is going towards maintenance of your image. Now, success, the golden handcuffs. Ego says, I am special, I deserve this. This is where it gets dangerous, and this is where I was. You get the title, you are a director, and Holiday says in his book, ego tells us we're invaluable. Well, I am, in money terms, this looks like lifestyle inflation. Now, when I was in the corporate role, the director title came with a set of unspoken rules about how I lived. Directors don't drive a 10-year-old car. Directors go on specific types of holidays. Ego turns in your income into recurrent expense. You get a raise. Ego says, I deserve a better house. You get a bonus. Ego says, I need to show I'm successful. Suddenly that 200 grand a year salary isn't building freedom. It's just servicing the debt of your ego. You become terrified of losing a job, not because you love the work, but because you can't afford to lose your identity of the big earner. The title on LinkedIn becomes the prison cell you built for yourself. Now, failure, the fear of stepping down. Last year, when I reached a point where I had enough invested, I could fulfill a dream of building something of my own. I handed in my notice after 16 years, and it was really hard because I loved that job and the people I worked with. I was asked to stay on part-time in a non-director role. I spoke to a friend of mine about it as the ego was kicking in, or my ego was kicking in. He said, what do you want on your headstone, Greg? The director or Greg the dedicated father? So a lifetime versus dead time. Eventually you might want out, or maybe you get laid off. This is the failure phase. Ryan Holiday talks about it. A lifetime versus dead time. Dead time is the waiting for someone to give you the status back. A lifetime is using that moment to grow. The biggest thing stopping people from financial freedom is the refusal to take a lesser title. I know people who are miserable, burnt out and broke who refuse to take a less stressful job for a less job title, for less money because they're terrified what LinkedIn will think. What if I go from director to consultant? What if I go from director to recruitment side? What if I go director to sales? This is ego talking. And that is ego is expensive. It keeps you unemployed longer than for the perfect status role. Or it keeps you stuck in a high-stress job that ruins your health. It's cost you money later. Real wealth is being able to say, I don't care what my title is. I care about my freedom. So to conclude, how do we fix this? I want you to do an ego audit on your finances. Look at your last 3 big purchases. Ask yourself, did I buy this for myself, my comfort, my health, my joy, or my signal to show others who I am? If you're buying for signal, that's the ego. And the ego is the enemy of your bank account and your future freedom. Now, next week, I'll be showing you exactly how I stripped away my ego to quit the corporate job, including all the numbers. So please do like and subscribe and hit the notification button so you don't miss out. As always, thank you so much for listening. And for now, spend wisely and stay safe.